Okay, good evening, everyone. On behalf of San Jose State University, our College of Health and Human Sciences, and of course, our School of Social Work, welcome to the first of our informational Q&A for application to the Masters of Social Work program. These sessions and the application period is intended for those who want to enter the program in fall 2025. So before we get into introductions and your Q&A, we wanted to do some housekeeping and also some introductions. So for those of you who have not muted yourselves, when it's time to ask a question, or if you want to put your question in the chat, that's fine. It's up to you if you want to engage your camera. If you do ask a question, it would be nice to see who you are, but also noting that we are recording this so that other people can view the recording and the Q&A who couldn't make it today. We wanted to honor that if you did not want to turn on your camera or not unmute, that's fine. And you can put your question into the chat, or you can wait until the recording is finished towards the end of the session. We also wanted to remind you that we have 2 additional Q&A informational sessions, and we are hoping that you all had a chance to view all of the recordings that we had in preparation for the admissions process, as well as the background of our school and our diversity model called the transcultural perspective before you joined our Q&A. That would just give you a better opportunity to understand what our program is about, what our school history is about, what our mission and vision are, so that when we do our Q&A, you would have an opportunity to enjoy more about what the interaction would be. We do have a couple of faculty members who are joining us today, so we're going to start with introductions. I noticed that Dr. Thomas and Dr. Bowie have joined us. There's quite a few folks on the participant list. I'm not sure if there's other faculty as well, but let's start with some introductions. So Dr. Thomas, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fall 2025 informational session. I'm Dr. Thomas. I am the school coordinator, the undergraduate and graduate advisor, and I also lead the admissions, the MSW admissions for the School of Social Work. Again, I'm excited to see you here.
Thank you. And then Dr. Bowie, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Chavez Bowie, and I am the Assistant Field Education Director for the School of Social Work, as well as the BSW Field Coordinator. Thank you for being here.
And then are there any other faculty members who are joining us today, if you notice? If so, unmute and maybe not. Okay. So hello, my name is Dr. Peter Allen Lee. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am the director of the School of Social Work and also a professor here. And then just again, welcome. So before we start our official Q&A, some things that we wanted to just remind folks and just some reflection about what we've been learning, especially with the start of our new semester of the students that we just admitted. So that's some things that will hopefully help your decision and the guidance about what type of graduate program or MSW program you might be interested in. So if you had watched our videos, you had noticed that at the beginning of our presentation, we had said things like making sure that in addition to, of course, a great opportunity for you to be part of an important profession, the social work profession, and also an opportunity to, of course, help your communities and be able to increase well-being of those that we serve. There's also some very important considerations in terms of your time commitment, your financial commitment, and then really understanding really what the whole course plan, especially the time that's involved with internship, that is a very intensive and required part of a master's program, not just our master's program, but other social work master's programs as well. So we wanted to highlight some of this because what had happened is two particular experiences that happened recently. One was at our new student orientation that just happened a month ago. And then a faculty exercise that we did in terms of answering the question, what are the 5 most important values or skills that we wanted social work students to have? So reflecting on orientation first is that we do quite a bit of preparation asynchronously for orientation. So if you are admitted to our program, you'll find out that we'll have at least 2, if not more, intensive days in person of orientation. And the in-person even for online students, is something that we try to capitalize on the time that we have actually face to face. So we don't spend a lot of time talking about what courses you're going to take, what the degree plan units require, what are the names of the courses, none of that part of things, because we do a lot of that asynchronously. So we spent a majority of the time doing things such as case scenarios, really understanding the application of our transcultural perspective, which is our diversity model. So talking about things like power, privilege, and oppression, talking about self-reflexivity, talking about cultural knowledge, cultural sensitivity, all these particular things. And we had noticed that many of the students, of course, appreciated a deep dive into this, especially the interactive activities. But we also recognized that some of our students did not quite understand or realize that when we are in this profession and when we started talking about these serious issues, it had actually caused them to pause, whether it's some triggering, whether it's some reflection that they had realized that they were not as prepared, whether psychologically, emotionally, or even professionally, in terms of what the social work profession would really entail. And within the first couple of weeks of classes, we had a couple of students actually come to us and say, I'm not ready, or I did not realize what the profession and this academic program would really entail. And that was not just dealing with situations of where, of course, we're helping folks that have problems or that are facing struggles. And it doesn't mean that we're immune to that. In fact, we as social workers also need to understand how to ask for help and care for ourselves as well. But we really wanted people to understand that there is definitely some preparation and self-reflexivity that needs to go into before you commit to a graduate program, especially in this profession. The other part of it was just finances and time. Folks did not realize, I didn't realize tuition was going to be that expensive. I didn't realize I had to change my work schedule or even give up some of my family time and my work time in order to finish the program. And so we had some students who also asked for either an adjustment or a deferment or even dropping out of the program because they didn't realize what the commitment really entailed. So we're taking some of that and sharing it with you here because it's not just our program, but other programs also that you might be investigating about what are you ready for, and also is the program a good fit? And we had talked about goodness of fit in the recordings. The second thing that we had learned is we had faculty development day. We do that annually at the beginning of the semester. And the question that we had asked faculty, what are the 5 most important skills and values that we want students to have? You might be surprised that that list did not include clinical skills, writing skills, although those are definitely important. Amongst the 5 skills were things like emotional regulation, time management, critical thinking, problem solving, really understanding what it was like to either come into a graduate program, especially for some of you who might have been away from academics for a while. Again, linked to the first part that we had just shared about students being prepared for what they would do as a professional social worker, is really understanding how to deal with conflict, how to deal with situations of challenge, how to deal with multiple stressors that might be in not only your clients' lives, but also in your lives, and really understand how to have that type of emotional intelligence, especially when things don't go well. And we can already tell you that any academic program, not just social work or not just this graduate program, does require that type of commitment. And so those skills were not really a surprise because we find that where students succeed is really those people who can handle those things. I mean, the academic stuff is definitely important and the professional training is important, but it's really the personal skills, the soft skills, the management skills, these types of things that have really shown to help students succeed, especially when things don't go well, especially when things are challenging. So I'm going to pause there for a moment because Dr. Bowie and Dr. Thomas were at Faculty Development Day as well as orientation, and just wanted to give them an opportunity to share any initial reflections that they also have before we start Q&A. So either of you would like to say anything?
Dr. Bowie, would you like to go first? Dr. Lee, I think you pretty much covered everything, but based on seeing this whole process through from the beginning of when the admissions start all the way till enrollments, what I would like to emphasize here is the amount of time required for the course and schedules. So if you are planning to apply and have your application reviewed, what I would suggest is before you start the process, really do a deep dive into your time commitment, your family, your work, what does your day-to-day activities look like, what are your demands at your workplace, and then make this decision. Although we support you in your educational journey, there's only that much that we can do to be flexible with the schedule. Once you're admitted and you accept your admission, depending on the program you're in, there is a schedule and you have to follow that schedule. So after this meeting and when you get your time and you start the application, go back to all those videos, make notes about class timings, field timings. I've linked everything in the application, all those links that you see on the admission site. Please review them again, make notes, and see what that looks like in terms of your time commitment. That's the first practical step for you to be prepared. And have these discussions with your family, your mentors, your boss, and then decide which program suits you the best. That's my first practical advice. And the second one is, of course, financial commitment, right? Graduate school requires a lot of financial commitment. We'll talk about that a little later as we get into the discussion. So these are the two important things in addition to what Dr. Lee said that I want you to keep in mind as you start this process. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, the only thing I will add and kind of piggyback off of is that, it is definitely a decision that, if you have, you care for others, you have children, you have, partners or whatever, we all have a lot going on. And so it definitely, make sure you're looking at all the information and getting as much information as you can that's presented to you. Being in the field office, we do see the struggles, right? Because it's almost like having another job, essentially, right? I mean, because you have your classes and then you have your internship, which take up, 2 to 3 days of your week. So we definitely just want to be really transparent about the requirements and the experience. And to be very honest, I mean, the field experience is our signature pedagogy. It is really where practice meets theory and everything you're learning in your classes and you're putting into practice. So it is a pretty amazing opportunity, I will say, to be able to go in the field and then just, coinciding with your classes and everything you're learning. It really is an amazing opportunity, but it is a commitment, in the program. So I will say that as well.
Thank you both. So how we're going to do Q&A is we'll take questions both from raised hands and also in the chat. I'm asking my colleagues to take a look and monitor, and we're going to try to do it thematically. So if somebody starts off with a question, let's say about a particular topic, we'll make sure that we exhaust that topic as best as we can before we move on to the next set of questions or theme. Okay. So thank you so much. Even though we started off in that fashion, we're very excited to see you all. And we think that we have a quality program to offer, as well as many different types of opportunities for specialized training. And so we're excited. Okie dokie. So Dr. Thomas and Dr. Bui, you want to read off any chats or we'll take raise hands?
So there's something in the chat I can start off with in regards to the admissions process. Is the admission for program rolling, or are all applications reviews and rejected after the deadline? And just to connect to that, who were the letters of recommendation addressed to? Who do the professors address the letters to?
Okay. So in terms of our definition of rolling admissions, we do not define in our program rolling admissions as first come, first serve. So other MSW programs or other graduate programs will say, okay, we have rolling admissions, meaning that as applications come in, they're reviewed immediately. If they meet the criteria, they're admitted and then keep on going until all the slots are filled. Our strategy in terms of what we define as admissions, or what you might think as a modified version of rolling admissions, is that we give everybody the opportunity to be admitted into the program as long as they meet the due date for the application. And remember that there are two application processes at minimum required. One is Cal State Apply. The second one is our MSW program application. Now, the reason why I said two applications minimum is because if you're interested in, for example, one of our training programs like Title 4E, which focuses on child welfare, there is a separate application process in addition to those two, as well as some of our other training programs for public behavioral health, adult protective services, those particular types of programs. Okay, so as long as you turn in your materials on time, everybody gets reviewed and has an opportunity to be admitted into the program. We do have our review criteria, which are basically the quality of your written statement, which is your personal statement, your GPA, your amount of social work related experience, your references, and then also the quality of your writing. So all of those that are within your control, you should try to do the best that you can. We would rather have a well put together application than for you to rush through the application thinking that it's first come, first serve, because it's not. In terms of the addressing of the letters, remember that we do not use traditional letters of recommendation. When you go look into our MSW program specific application, you'll notice that there are 3 recommendation forms. So the form that you would use is you would give it to your recommender. It's a scored form, but it also has open-ended questions in which your recommender can complete that information if they so choose to do. So there isn't really any type of addressing a letter to per se, but if there is a need for any of that type of addressing, you can address it to the School of Social Work MSW Admissions Committee, or just basically to whom it may concern. There's no specific person that you have to address. Colleagues, also please chime in if I'm missing something or if I have my information incorrect.
There are a few questions in the chat about the advanced standing the service hours, the 400 service hours, mandatory for advanced standing students. And there is, and there is a few about advanced standing.
Okay, we'll take those. And then we also noticed that
the admissions process.
Yeah, and I think Natalie has her their hand up, so we'll take Natalie's question in a moment. So advanced standing. So remember, as you review our program options, there is an on-campus 2-year program, an on-campus 3-year evening classes only program. Then there's an online 2-year continuous enrollment program, and then advanced standing has both an on-campus and an online option. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with advanced standing, basically what that means is the basic criteria is you have to have a bachelor's of social work degree from a CSWE, that's Council on Social Work Education, accredited bachelor's program. We also have as our internal criteria at least an A or an A minus in any and all of the social work core courses that you took in your program, as well as an overall minimum GPA of 3.5. And you also have to have outstanding recommendations, especially those in terms of your field evaluations. Now, the hours of internship for advanced standing is set at that minimum, in the sense that remember that if you do intend to be in an advanced standing program, you are skipping the entire foundation or first year of the MSW program, going through a bridge set of courses during the summer, and then going straight into the final year. So it's an accelerated 1-year program. And the reason why we require those minimum amount of social work experience hours is because that means those people who are in advanced standing are missing or not getting in their graduate program a whole year's worth of internship. Usually a year's worth of internship in our program is 420 hours now, Dr. Bowie, is that right? Yeah, 420 hours. So that's where that minimum is set. And our advanced standing program, you can apply to do the summer bridge, which is all online. And then you'll filter off into the final year, either into the on-campus program, all in-person classes, or in the online program, which all your classes are online. All internships are in person, in an area that is geographically local to you, regardless of you, wherever you live, or as close as we can get so that your commute is not far. So basically what happens is that advanced standing in our school is extremely competitive. And that's because we also have a responsibility that whoever we feel is prepared to skip the entire first year of MSW courses, that they graduate ready for the profession at the master's level. So just from who we have admitted in the first, I think it's 4 years now of advanced standing.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, there's an average of 40 to 50 people who apply for advanced standing, and the average number of folks that we've admitted into advanced standing is four per year. So you might be wondering, because I can't see you on camera, whether or not your jaw dropped or if you're gasping in like disbelief. But the reason why the criteria is so high and we're so picky about that is because, again, you're skipping an entire year of graduate program in order to have an accelerated experience to earn your master's degree in 1 year. The common question that comes after that is that what if you don't meet all of the criteria, minimum criteria to apply? You can still apply for the advanced standing program, but understand that those minimums are there for a reason. And also in terms of the number of students that we actually admit into advanced standing is for that purpose of excellence, because we have a responsibility to make sure that you're ready in 1 year instead of two. Dr. Bowie, are we good with that theme?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Natalie's question then.
Hi, good afternoon. So my question was kind of on the personal statement. So I know you guys were talking about like time commitment and as well as financial commitment. Is that something that should be stated on our personal statement?
Dr. Thomas, can you elaborate on that? I believe one of the questions actually is asking your the applicant's readiness for the program. Is that right?
Yeah. So, Natalie, thank you for that question. That is a good question. So, we do have the personal statement. There are 5 prompts in the personal statement. So, review those prompts and respond to them, right? So, right there, you have the basis or the foundation of responding to what we want you to, talk about yourself to us, right? After that, you'll see a small prompt which tells you that the program is demanding, tell us why and how you are ready. It's there that you will respond to this particular question that you asked, right? It can be in terms of finances, it can be in terms of your time commitment. You can write all of it there. In your personal statement, if you think that there's something that you have to say that will add to, our to your application in terms of time and your financial commitment, sure enough, go and add it there. But I would say respond to the 5 prompts in the personal statement.
Okay, thank you.
Should we continue on that theme? Personal statement?
Any other questions on the personal statement? So just because we are on the question of personal statement, all the instructions are there on the website. On the admissions page, there are 5 prompts. There's a word restriction of 3,000 words, and it's a 12 font count. Please pay attention to how you organize your response. All the instructions we have there, including the word count. Yeah. Take the time to read the prompt, review the prompt carefully before you respond to them. The admissions page also has a small video on actually putting together a strong and compelling statement. Remember that after we've seen everything, the statement is an opportunity for you to tell us who you are. So do pay attention to the statement. Take time to write the statement. Don't write it hastily. There are 5 prompts. Write it carefully. Give us the best you that you have, both in terms of your personal development, professional development, why you are the best fit for the program, and what experiences you have. That's what the prompt speaks to. So respond to the prompts, take time, write it carefully, write it thoughtfully, write it in a compelling manner. That is my advice about on a personal statement. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to if I mispronounce your name, please feel free to correct us. We'll go to Bishan, and then we'll take some more chat questions. Bishan?
Hi. My question was regarding the references. It's my understanding that one has to be an academic person, and then the other one has to be professional, and then the third can be either or. I wanted to ask if you do any sort of like not exemptions, but exceptions in the sense that when I went to university, first I went to community college and then I transferred to university, and my first year at that university was during COVID. So I only had 1 year at the university to be in person with my instructors. And even then our classes were very large. So it was kind of difficult to develop a relationship with the professor. And it was also a few years ago. So I wanted to ask if there's any exceptions where you can just have all three be professional references.
So, Dr. Thomas and Dr. Bui, you can clarify if I misspeak on this. I don't think that in our formal instructions does it actually specify a ratio, right?
Oh,
It's,
okay.
No, we don't. No,
Oh,
we
you
don't.
don't? Okay, my apologies.
No,
No.
that's okay because other programs actually do. So that's a good, important part that if you're applying to multiple master's programs, they do, each one has its own specific criteria. But Bishan, that's a great question because basically the answer to your question, at least for applying to our program, is that those recommenders, and remember, they're not actual letters of recommendation, they are recommendation forms with an open-ended spot that your recommenders can do. We have the general advice is that together the three recommendations should speak to the applicant's ability to succeed in a graduate level program, and then also the readiness for the profession. So you can have any combination that you would like. However, we require that they have to be professional references. So in other words, in the past, we have had some folks have a family member or a friend write or submit the recommendation form. And even though that person, may know the applicant very well, they do have to have professional standing. So if in some of your cases, you have three recommenders that all come from industry, social work professionals, manager, supervisor, what have you, or all three come from an academic, there's no restriction on the ratio. However, the forms together should speak to your suitability to be in a graduate program and your ability to be in the profession. Bishan, does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions about recommendations? Okay. Dr. Bui, do you want to pick out a theme from the chat?
Yes. So I questions about working employment and internship. So I could start answering that a little bit, Dr. Lee, and then if you want to chime in or
Please.
yeah. There are a few questions coming up asking if we're able or if you're able to do your internship at your place of employment. So how that works is we have what's called a petition, where you would petition to do your to be in your internship, use your place of employment as an internship. However, super important to know is that we work, so how it works with the internship process is we work with over 300 agencies in, throughout California, of course, our area in San Jose area. We have active partnerships with them. So what that means is,
Dr. Bui, you're breaking up.
so I apologize. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Okay. So we have what we call an active agency list, and we partner with agencies or more throughout the state of California. When you do your internship, it has to come from our active agency list because we have partnerships with them, we have contracts. So you can't just pick an agency and say, hey, I'm going to do my internship here. If it's not on an active agency list, then you cannot do it there unless we have some kind of agreement. And sometimes it takes a while to do, to go through this process because we have to go through our contracts, we have to go through the university for, legal. So with that said, if you wanted to do an internship at your place of employment, they have to be one of our partners on our active agency list. Now, with that said, is we do ask students to fill out a petition, and the petition process is we ask for a lot of detail. It's a pretty lengthy process because we want to make sure that if you are going to do your internship employment, there are very clear boundaries of work and internship. And I mean, I'm talking different supervisor, different department, different hours. It has to be very distinct for just for the purposes of we want to protect you as a student, as an intern, because you are not an employee in that role. So someone asked where you can find the active agency list. When you become a student of ours, we give you access to the active agency list. And that's where you will find, what agencies we partner with. I probably missed some things, Dr. Lee, if you want to add anything, but it's a very, our petition process it's a pretty detailed process just because we want to make sure that you are, there's a very clear difference and distinct difference between being an intern and being an employee.
Dr. Bowie, can you also explain that if their petition is granted and they use their place of employment 2 years?
No, you can only use it 1 year. So you cannot use it for your 2 years. You have to use it for 1 year. And we do get a lot of people asking us that question. Even when we did these last year, people will say, well, I'm already interning at a social service agency, so I should be fine. And the reality is we really want to make sure that it is a distinct difference. So that's something to really think about, right, when you come into the program.
And then also, are there some restrictions in terms of if they do use their place of employment and how we have specialized training programs? Does that affect their ability to be in any of our training programs that offer a stipend?
Yes. So we want to make sure that we provide students with an equitable opportunity here at the School of Social Work. So if you are, say you are granted a petition to use your petition for your place of employment, and we have gone through your application, we said, okay, you have a different supervisor, everything is clear, you can work, you can do your internship there. However, if that is the case, then you could not accept one of our stipends on our stipend programs that we offer, because we don't want it to be where you're getting your employee money from, you're still working and then you're also getting a stipend in addition to that. So we just want to make sure it's equitable for all students, because there are a lot of students that won't be working, right? And so one thing we do know, and we are seeing this, I can even speak for myself, when I was a student, going to any kind of higher education, it is a sacrifice that we do make, right? So we know we really want to try to make this process as equitable as possible for all students to have access to whatever financial opportunities possible, if possible.
We also have found that sometimes students wait till the last minute to submit a petition, and the petition, similar to an application process, has very specific instructions. So please make sure you review those petition instructions carefully and turn them in on time. You have to realize that with a program of our size and the number of students that we have a lot of administrative responsibilities to make sure that we offer as high quality as curriculum and learning experience as possible, but also to make sure that we are able to manage such a large number of students. One other thing that's related to internship before we move on to a different theme is that we have also found that students sometimes have the requirement, depending on the agency, to undergo a background check. And so if you're interested in working with certain populations, you have to take into consideration that if you're concerned that if you're going to be required to do a background check, and it's not just background checks, but it's also things like if you're working in a medical setting, it's immunizations as well as vaccination requirements. You need to think about those things ahead of time. Our program does not require a background check as part of the application for the program process. However, we have found that when students are interested in interning at a particular agency and there is something that appears on a background check, for example, a DUI or a particular type of something that might be a concern for working with certain populations, that can significantly delay your match in internship, and in some situations even prevent you from having an internship. So that's why when you read our application information, it says that internships are not guaranteed. So you should think ahead about what it is that you're wanting to do and what type of placement that you're thinking of doing. And if you're concerned about your preparation or anything that might appear in a background check, to try to resolve those things before you decide to come to our program.
Dr. Lee, I would also like to add that there are no remote or online internships. All internships are in person during regular working hours, and we don't have internships during summer or during weekends. So again, this goes back to our discussion on being fully aware of your working and your other schedule and preparing for the program. So internship is in person, regular working hours of the organization that you will be interning in. Dr. Lee, moving on, we have a question on Cal State Apply and MSW application. So I think we should spend some time on that.
Okay, let's do that, and then we'll go to Tiffany and Angela. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Vanessa, sorry.
So what is the Cal State Apply question, please?
Yeah, so Vanessa Martinez has asked, can you please clarify if both the Cal app and MSW application ask for recommendations? Thank you. I think we can use this as a segue to, all the discussions on Cal State and MSW.
Okay, good. So for any program that is in the California State University system or the CSU system, Cal State Apply is basically the application process for any CSU campus. So what will happen is that when you apply for the master's program, you're going to be looking for a particular designation for the program that you want to enter. The Cal State Apply does not list every single choice that is listed on the MSW application. So for example, if you're looking for advanced standing, it'll be on the Cal State Apply. If you're looking for online or on campus, you'll also see it in Cal State Apply. But Cal State Apply does not differentiate between the 3-year evening only and the 2-year program for the on-campus. But that's okay. So what you want to do is after you select the closest one that's in Cal State Apply, when you go into the MSW specific application, you want to make sure that you pick the exact program option that you're applying for, and you can actually rank choice them. So if your first choice is online, and then your second choice is 3-year evening only, and your third choice is 2-year, then you can do that. We designed our supplementary application for the MSW program in that way so that we can get more detailed information that Cal State Apply does not allow us to do. Cal State Apply will ask you for things like a personal statement, as well as recommendations. You can ignore the Cal State Apply request. Okay, do those in our MSW specific application process. Okay, but this is very important. If you are applying to multiple MSW programs that are in the CSU system, you have to make sure you understand the instructions from the other CSU master's programs. So hypothetically, if you're applying to San Jose State University, CSU, right, Cal State Apply, but if you apply also to, let's say, Long Beach State or CSU East Bay or San Francisco State, they each have their own application processes in which they might rely on Cal State Apply for the recommendations and the personal statement. Okay, so if that is the case, then you still might need to use Cal State Apply to do those particular portions because of the CSUs that you're applying to. So whichever CSUs that you're applying to, you need to make sure that you follow the specific instructions for those universities. If you're only applying to ours, San Jose State University, you do not have to do the recommendation or the personal statement sections for Cal State Apply, but you do need to do the personal statement and the recommendations portions in our MSW application portion. Dr. Thomas?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lee. I want to add some more information. So let's start with Cal State Apply. The Cal State application apply will open on 1st October, and the deadline for submitting all your materials, which is your transcript to Cal State Apply, is December 1st. So why I'm mentioning this particularly is keep a track of the deadlines and the documents and other application materials that you have to submit. So like Dr. Lee said, Cal State Apply will ask you for your basic personal details and other information, but not your personal statement or recommendation letters for our School of Social Work. So be careful when you do the CalState apply that what information it asks for our School of Social Work, and follow those instructions. There is also a guide of how do you fill the CalState apply. We haven't yet got the latest version. It should be ready by 1st of October. I will link it on our MSW page. So use that guide to do your CalState apply. Before you start your CalState apply, review the guide before, and complete the application. The other important information about CalState apply is GAPE, or the Graduate Admissions Office, does have advising sessions for you to get familiar with the process, because sometimes all these different universities, different applications can be confusing. I'm going to put a link here. Try and attend these advising sessions if you can, and you have the time. That will help you kind of negotiate the CalState apply admission process. Again, that is different from what we are talking about, the MSW applications. You have two applications, CalState apply, and right now I'm only focusing on CalState apply. Yeah, opens on 1st October. There is a guide. Use that guide to get familiar with the process of submitting the CalState apply application. The deadline for submitting all the documents on CalState apply is December 1st.
Okay. Thematically, are we okay to move on, or? Yeah.
I just want to ask if there are any questions about the MSW application, the second application. Okay.
Okay, let's go to Tiffany. Tiffany, please.
Hi. So in the recorded info session, it was mentioned that the fee would be $630 per unit for the 2025-2026 school year. But I was wondering if that fee amount would remain the same for second year MSW students, or would that also increase during the second year term?
If you're at students that are admitted into fall 2025, we'll have the 630. And unfortunately, with the state and the university having to keep up with cost of the education, even though you entered under a certain amount, the fee increase will go again in your second year. So every year, I believe it's for the next 6 years. Do you remember, Dr. Thomas?
Yes, it's till 2029, Dr. Lee, and I'm going to actually put the information on chat in chat. It's also there on the MSW Embark application, the website. Just going to open. And again, this is only for the online program. Yeah.
Yeah. So online program, what Tiffany's referring to is that there is a scheduled fee increase of every year in the program. So Tiffany, unfortunately, it's not a price lock. So that means you have to anticipate the 630 in your first year, and then another increase in your final year.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Tiffany, I've also put, sorry.
Go ahead.
I've also, copied the information in chat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Related to that, what we refer to our online program is called special sessions. And so if you're referring to prices and the website and all that, special sessions, which is our online program, does have the already announced graduated fee increases. The state for general sessions, that means the state subsidized tuition, which means our on-campus programs, has already seen a slight fee increase. And it's also going through the state as well as the university system about whether there's going to be fee increases on the general session side. Those have not been announced, and it has not been determined if there's going to be a fee increase every year. From history, there is not a fee increase every year when there is a fee increase. But I think out of transparency and expectation, I would not be surprised if the state increased the general session or the on-campus fee structure as well. So stay tuned for that. And you can look at the bursar's office page for those fees. That's another point about cost comparison. If you are looking at other MSW programs, you'll find that our online program falls in about the middle range, also accounting other public schools as well as private institutions. What we have seen so far is that private institutions can charge as much as $90,000 a year. And then there are a few public institutions that charge a little bit less than we do. They still charge between $500 and $600 a unit. So if you're looking for price comparison, please also do your research. Okay, let's go to Angela.
Hi, sorry to backtrack to internships, but I had two questions. One, is it absolutely necessary to become a participant before you get the agency list?
Dr. Booth?
Yeah.
Yes, we don't give the active agency list out to, unless you're a student. And also, we're trying to, building more partnerships and whatnot. So, we're updating it as we go. And so, yes, when you are a student, we do give you the active agency list.
Okay. And number two, you said you're working with or contracted with at least 300 agencies locally. How far or how big is that radius?
So that's throughout, California. The majority are going to be in, Santa Clara County, the Bay Area. We have some placements that we're working with in like the Los Angeles area. We have some in the Central Valley. But yeah, it just depends because, I'm not going to say we have, a ton in LA or a ton in the Central Valley. We are a little more limited in those areas and we are working on building more partnerships. But we do have a lot in the Bay Area.
And I know it might be pressing, but are there any like law offices that you work with on that list?
I'd have to look and see what we have, but we do work with yes, legal law organizations.
Like public defenders?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Angela, did you, of course, you don't have to disclose if you don't want to, but do you want to give us a general geographic region?
Oh, well, I'm in the Bay Area. And the agency I work for is the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, and my title for the last 3 years has been reentry social worker. So my lead thought that I'd be able to get my hours signed off, but it doesn't sound like that's a for sure, and I wouldn't know until I saw the list. And it would be a big deciding factor if I wanted to move forward. So I'm not sure how I should proceed.
Yeah, we do have we do have on our website. So for those agencies that are interested in partnering with us, or they're interested in, having interns or whatnot, we do partnerships with them and we have on our website. And if you go to field education, if you scroll down, there will be, I can put the link in the chat, but I can put that in there and they can always contact us and just say, hey, do we have a partnership? And if not, what would it take to to have a partnership? I can't say how long it would take or if it's possible. There's so many factors that we have to consider. And something else I want to just say is that we have to go by the CSWE standards. And this goes in general for all of our internships. We have to make sure that not only does the agency, could have the capacity to have an intern, a social work intern, but we have to make sure that the supervisor is at least 2 years post MSW. They're a field instructor, 2 years post MSW or LCSW. So there's certain criteria. Some students say, hey, is it okay if I have an LMFT supervisor? The reality is it's not, because CSWE standards say we have to have MSWs or LCSWs. So those are kind of the criteria that we have to follow within the Council for Social Work Education, which is why we go through all the vetting and go through the process that we go through, because we want to make sure that you students have everything you need to, to successfully complete your program.
Yeah. Both of my supervisors are both LCSWs. So let me look into, I guess, you would do that request after you get in.
Well, anyone from any agency can, if they're interested in partnering with us, they can go on our website and they can get all the information through the website and go through our process, our vetting process. And
Thank
it's
you.
clearly stated.
And can you post that link like you said?
I'll post the field education website. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no problem.
We also have a related question on starting fieldwork in the 3-year evening only program. So the field internship for the 3-year evening only program starts in the 2nd year of the program.
And the internship is during traditional business hours.
Across all program options. So connected to that is a question about what is the average number of social hours experience? I think it's social work hours experience for incoming students in the 2-year program, and by Geetika Kapoor.
So, Dr. Thomas and Dr. Boo, you might have more accurate statistics than I do, but from my familiarity with our admissions process, remember there's no magic formula per se. Okay, so the direct answer to your question is that the average is 2,000 to 2,500 hours for any applicant, regardless of program choice. But different from other programs where they would say, like, okay, if you meet the minimum criteria, you're automatically in. Just to round out the other averages, the average GPA of entering students is about a 3.3, 3.4. Everybody has excellent recommendations, and everybody has a good personal statement. And so the reason why we say there's no magic formula is because we have had applicants who have very high GPA, oodles, years and years of social work experience, but just did not do well on the personal statement. They don't get in. We have had some applicants that have very minimal social work experience, but their academic preparation and their recommendations are extremely strong, as well as a convincing personal statement, and they do get in. Okay, so that's why we recommend that anything that is within your control to improve these particular qualifications. So the number of hours of experience are within your control. Who you choose as a recommender is in your control. How well you write your personal statement is within your control, right? If you're still in school, trying to get the highest GPA possible is still within your control. So we would say anything that you can do to get the highest possible quality across as many of those areas as possible is going to increase your chances in. So if you're thinking like, oh my goodness, I don't have anywhere near 2,000 hours of experience, but you think that you're qualified and want to come to our program, then apply. If you're a person that has 10 years of experience and think that you're automatically going to get in, don't skimp on the don't reduce your effort on the personal statement and who you choose as a recommender, because sometimes people take that for granted, and you might lose out on that. So just be aware.
The only exception to the hours of experience is for the advanced standing program. So you're required to have a minimum of 400 hours of experience for the advanced standing. That's a requirement. For all the others, we don't have a minimum or a maximum. Like Dr. Lee said, we see a range. What we're looking for is the quality of your experience, what you've brought to that particular experience, how you explain it in your application, and how that demonstrates your fit for our program. So that's what we pay attention to. And at this point, I would like to add, please, and we have it specifically mentioned in the application, restaurant retail experience does not count as social work experience. So please do not include them in your application. You can put it on your resume, but not in the application towards the number of hours you worked. And we've also given a very clear description to the extent that it is possible to to describe what a social work experience looks like. And I've also linked the National Association of Social Workers description of social work. So please review all of that when you start filling the work experience, and also how hours are counted. So all those instructions have been clearly provided in the application. Follow those instructions for filling the application, right? And even examples of what kind of work does not count as social work experience. So pay attention when you're actually filling that part of the application.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Alexis. And in the meantime, if you both can also scout out what the next theme would be, that'd be great. Alexis? Oh, you're muted.
I lowered the hand, but not the mute. Um, so I have two questions. One is about fees, and the second one is more about the programs. So in the video you had estimated like 18 for this is for the 2-year full-time in-person program. There was like fees estimated were about like 18,000, and I'm just wondering, does that include the fee increase in the subsequent year?
So as of now, unless anybody has heard anything announced from the state yet, that figure comes from the current bursar's office website. So there might be a fee increase between now and when people enter in fall 2025. I have not seen any announcement yet that confirms whether there's going to be a fee increase on the general session side. I would imagine that again, sorry, I can't, what do you call it, guarantee that this is what it would be, but the fee increases that we've seen historically have not been more than 5 to 10%. So if you're looking at current bursar's office fees, and then you estimate that the historical increase has not been more than 5 or 10%, you can build that into your budget. So your 18, sorry, I don't have that memorized, but the 18,000 that you see for the tuition for the on-campus program, if you add 10% to that, that might be a good budgeting guesstimate in terms of what you would expect to pay if indeed the state were to have fee increases in that manner. Is that a fair response?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Lee. And thanks for linking that, Dr. Thomas.
Okay.
And then my second question is, I'm interested in 2 programs just because I'm unsure if I want to go into like the school social worker PPSC route or more of like the clinical route. And so I'm interested also in the IBH. And so what would you, is it possible to do 2 programs, or is that not recommended?
You wouldn't be able to do 2 programs concurrently, but you can get both eventually.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, if you wanted to go for the training program, which is the integrated behavioral health, which is people who declare in their final year that they want to go to IBH, there is a stipend that is awarded for that training program. And then the expectation is that you would find a job in integrated behavioral health after graduation. So that means you wouldn't be able to do your PPSC at the same time because PPSC requires a school-based placement. However, after you finish your IBH commitment, we do have a post-master's PPSC program. So you could do IBH, finish your commitment, and then come back for your PPSC. My recommendation, and my colleagues probably have their own tips as well, is throughout most social workers' careers, very few people stay in the exact same job and in the exact same specialty for their whole life. It's just because people develop, they understand a little bit more about their passion, or their passions change either in terms of the population that they serve or the types of problems or the type of solutions or type of work that they want to do. So I would say look at what it is that you're most interested in now, because that passion is really going to generate a lot of energy in terms of what you want to do, especially when you have hard days at work, or you're, going back to that question about why did I choose this again, that kind of thing. So I understand that finances, credentials, even things like, credibility often has its weight when we choose what kind of profession we go into. And of course, we have to make enough money to live. But I'm a big believer in that if you pursue something that you're passionate about and you're, reasonably good at what you do, and you continue to learn, aware of your weaknesses, address where you need to learn, those other things fall in place. So those people who tend to go after purely the money, if it's not something that they're really interested in, eventually they burn out. Or it's just a mismatch. And not, Alexis, is not to say that you're doing that, but it's just, our advice in terms of thinking about, talk to people who are doing the job that you think you want to do and get their insight on it. Visit some of the agencies or the school settings or things that you're interested in working at, and see how those professionals got there. See if it matches what it is that you think is your trajectory, and be open that your trajectory will change, because every person's journey is different.
Thanks, Dr. Lee. And I think
Alexis,
yeah.
I would like to add at this point, I mean, you use the term clinical, I thought you said clinical practice, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, I think, it would be the LCSW.
That's a good way to phrase it. So that leads us to the next point I want to make. That is, many students come into the program expecting that this is a clinical program. So again, we would like to emphasize that the School of Social Work at SJSU is not a clinical program. We are what we called an advanced generalist program. Again, I've linked a video in the application site. You can review that video for exactly what that means. In short, what that means is we train social workers to practice in any area of social work where social work interventions are required. That's a kind of a broad definition. So if you're coming here looking to learn various modalities of therapy or therapeutic practices, really this is not the program for you, right? But we do have preparation to do clinical work. There are internships, there are courses that relate to that, but it is not purely clinical social work, quite in ways like some programs have program tracks or program concentration. Like I know Columbia has a purely clinical social work practice. We don't do that. But many of our students go on to take LCSW. We are an accredited school of social work. All our students can, upon graduation, do, prepare for the LCSW and take the LCSW, exams. So I just want to emphasize that again. Do your homework if what you want to do with your degree. Like Dr. Lee said, this is also a time for you to explore, but also what exactly your goals are. And if you're looking for a purely clinical therapy-focused program, our program does not quite fit that need. Yeah.
Right.
Dr. Lee, would you like to add something there? Did I describe that?
I think that's a good addition, and not only clinical, but some of the questions also had asked about whether there's administrative management or macro experiences. We also do not bill ourselves as a macro program, but that doesn't mean that we don't have opportunities for macro internships or preparation for macro work. So it goes back to that part about goodness of fit for the type of program that you're looking for, and seeing whether or not San Jose State is going to offer you really what is going to equip you for the specifics of the type of professional trajectory that you're looking for. So
thank you for that clarification, Dr. Thomas. I appreciate that. And I think just my last question would be, Dr. Lee, you had mentioned there's a postmaster PPSC program. Is that also true for the IBH or just PPSC?
No, there's no training program for IBH postmasters. However, you might, if you do like an internet search, there's probably different agencies or other ways that you can get integrated behavioral health training after graduation. Because I'm sure that especially where the field is going in that fashion, there's probably other opportunities to train. It's just that it might not be formalized in terms of going through school. So it might be a postmaster's fellowship. It might be a training opportunity. It might just be an agency that's willing to supervise you in integrated behavioral health when you find a job there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was all for all my questions. Thank you all so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Dr. Bowie, any new themes?
New, I would say no. I see another one about the advanced standing program, and I know we talked about it, but I can read the question off if you would like.
Go ahead.
So for the advanced standing program, is BASW field internship evaluation requirement referring to the mid-year report, final report, or both?
Dr. Thomas, can you help me with that one? I think it's whatever you can submit at the time that's available. And then there will be a follow-up in terms of if you are selected to go through the advanced standing process, there is an interview involved, for which case, if it happens later on in the year, you might have access to additional evaluative information, which would be helpful. But in terms of when the application is due, if it's due December 1, you definitely won't have final year evaluations available yet. You might have mid-semester evaluations available. So what you would do is you submit as best as you can. And then once we know that you're interested in applying for advanced standing, the school will probably follow up in terms of requesting additional documentation or information. That's
correct, Dr. Lee. Yes. And for those of you who have all your evaluations, please combine it into one PDF document and you can submit it. You can do that on the application webpage. that's possible. And also, the last time I did see that many applicants had just submitted their learning agreement. Please do not do that. We want to see the evaluation, not your learning agreement. We want to see what your field supervisor had to say about your skills and your practice behaviors. So please submit your evaluation and not your learning agreement. There is a difference. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Thomas, I think I just realized why that question came about. So I made the assumption that people who are interested in applying to advanced standing are people who are currently in a bachelor's program. So our answers apply to current bachelor's students. However, there might be some folks who graduated from a bachelor's program a couple of years ago in which they would have access to their evaluations because they had finished a couple years ago. So in those situations, Dr. Thomas, would we expect both mid-semester and final?
Yes, we have, they can consolidate that into one PDF document and submit it. And we've had instances where sometimes the students, the applicant is not able to access it, and they have instead submitted a form of recommendation letter from their, field supervisor.
Okay, thank you. Any other new questions? Otherwise, while people are thinking, I'm just going to share some additional insight.
Go ahead, Dr. Lee.
Okay, I've noticed in the chat there's some questions, especially for students who might not live in the Bay Area, interested in our online program. So in terms of what Dr. Bowie had said, we are trying to improve the number of agencies that we have outside of the Bay Area. Obviously, because we're located in the Bay Area, most of our connections with agencies are within the 9 to 13 local Bay Area counties. But we're trying to expand in that way. So just be aware of what type of opportunities as well as possible limitations if you're interested in our online program. Now, my colleagues, not necessarily these two colleagues, but my colleagues always ask me about, well, how are you actually publicizing our program, and are you talking us up? Okay, and I'm the type of person that really believes in goodness of fit. Okay, we offer a really good program, and we would be happy to have you apply to our program. And because many of my classmates and colleagues are the chairs or the directors or deans at the other California social work programs, I just want to give a shout out that it's not a competition, right? Wherever you can go to be the best social worker you can be, that's where we want you to go. So I think some folks were living in Southern California and said like, hey, we don't have as many internships like in Imperial County or in the valley, or even up north towards Humboldt or Shasta. And they're really good schools all over California. So all of those programs have accredited MSW programs. And so it's not to say that we're telling you not to apply to us, but we want you to also find a place that you can thrive. So if you have not checked out your local CSU or your local university that offers a social work program, I highly, highly, highly recommend, because we all work together in California. As I mentioned, some of those administrators are my classmates from graduate school. We all work together in a consortium in terms of trading ideas, sharing insights about what's happening with student body as well as what's happening in the field. And we want to support each other. And so although each program has its strengths and weaknesses, if you're really concerned about price, if you're concerned about geographic location, consider those things, because those programs will also have very similar training programs. They will have in-person as well as online programs. They will have part-time or different types of program offerings. So it's worthwhile for you to check those out, because social work is in such great need that all of those programs are trying to address the same issue. And we all want you to be colleagues in terms of this profession.
Dr. Lee, there's a few questions about GPA as well as the prompts.
Yeah.
So the few questions that are coming up is, can you elaborate on what a self-reported GPA is and what is our GPA from our undergrad? That's the first one regarding the GPA.
Yeah. So the self-reported GPA is, so supposing you are still in an undergraduate program and you haven't yet completed your degree and it is in progress. So you have a GPA at the end of your transcript. That's your self-reported GPA, right? So you have a 3.3 GPA or 3.5 GPA. You just have to enter that. And for those of you who've completed an undergraduate degree or have an additional master's degree, just write the GPA that is on your transcript. So that is what I mean, it is not your official GPA. We haven't seen your transcript. It is just to see what your GPA is before it goes through the whole, administrative process of review. Yeah. So it's just simply enter your GPA from your transcript, right? Is that clear? And so the other question was about the personal statement, right? Should you respond to all the 5 prompts separately or should be a cohesive? How you organize your personal statement is your choice, yeah? Because all of us have different styles. We approach the questions in different manners. So that's fine. You can organize it however you want. And like you said, it has to be cohesive. It has to be coherent. And that story you're trying to say has to make sense, right? It has to, capture our attention. Like this is a graduate program, and in that sense, you are competing, right? We have a whole pool of applicants, and you have to tell us why you are the best fit for this program. What professional and personal experiences do you bring? What has that taught you, and what can we as a school and social work as a profession gain from all that you bring to us? And what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So how you organize your essay is your choice. We're not going to be we don't prescribe that in any manner, but compelling, cohesive, free of errors. Please spell check, take care of your transitions, how you organize your paragraphs, just generally how well you write your personal statement. That's what we look at. Yeah. And respond to all the 5 prompts, please. Yeah.
Hannah has her hand up.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Just kind of related to the personal statement as well as the GPA. If there was a period, for example, like a semester or quarter, where academics slightly differed due to extenuating circumstance such as like illness, should that be explained in the personal statement, or should that just be something that's left out? And in terms of like how to handle that.
Dr. Lee, should I respond to that?
Yes, please. And then, I have an answer in mind, but if you want to start, that's fine.
Yeah. So Hannah, again, it's your choice. If you feel that will present, your perspective, your side of the story, go ahead and do it. And if that was part of your journey, right, as to what happened during a certain semester and what did you learn from it, and therefore how has your professional and personal journey moved forward, definitely go ahead and put that in, right? We don't prescribe what you should or should not write there, but definitely, if that has a value, you have something important to say there, please go ahead and put that in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Related, there are oftentimes a percentage of folks who apply who might not meet the criteria, the minimum criteria for application. So the minimum criteria for application, for example, is a 2.5 GPA, a degree from a recognized university, undergraduate degree, that is. And if you do get rejected by the university application, Cal State Apply, you can ask for an appeal or a petition. So, sometimes the Graduate Admissions and Program Evaluation Office, which is called GATE, sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they do calculations in such a way as like, no, I met the minimum criteria. I would like to have a reexamination. You can contact GATE directly about this. And if you find that you do want to put forth an appeal, or you're in a situation where you feel you're really, really, really close, or that you deserve consideration, even if you don't meet the minimum criteria, there is an appeal process. Any new questions? Wozers. So we will say officially on the recording, this is the first time that we have not reached our time of appointment and not had questions still overflowing. So I'm going to attribute that you all did your homework. Thank you so much for viewing the informational videos ahead of time, for researching our program, and then just thinking ahead about whether you think San Jose State is a good fit for you. Oh, I saw something in the chat. Was there something new in the chat? I just see it blip up sometimes, and it's like, oh, is that a question? Oh, Dr. Bowie, you're muted.
Okay. Someone asked if there was a minimum criteria, but it related to a question that was asked earlier. And it said the question earlier was, for social work related experience, applicants should preferably have significant volunteer internship or paid work experience with groups such as Latinx, Black African Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, Native Americans. This is one of the questions, and other marginalized, oppressed, disadvantaged groups. I have experience of 3 years as a preschool teacher from Middle East where I did teach students from different backgrounds. Do I still meet the criteria? And then someone asked, is there a minimum criteria?
Minimum criteria for experience, minimum criteria for or experience with certain groups, or
They were asking off of the question of the person that said, I have experience of 3 years as a preschool teacher from the Middle East. Daphne, are you still here? You asked if there was a minimum criteria. I just want to make sure that we understand the question that you're asking. It was based off of that original question. Daphne Newman, if you want to elaborate on that, that would be helpful.
okay. Well, if not, the general answer to that is across all of those criteria, except for the university requirement of 2.5 minimum. And of course, if you're applying for advanced standing, because that does have criteria, there is no minimum. So if you have 0 social work experience, you can still apply. But then what we would expect is that all of your other qualifications that we're evaluating would be like super, super good, right? So if you have no experience, we're expecting excellent personal statement, excellent recommendations, excellent GPA. Same thing. If you have a low GPA, we're expecting you to offset that by high marks in the other areas. So there is no minimum in that regard. Repeating what we had recommended is whatever is in your control to improve or to have high accomplishments, then try to do as best as you can in all those areas within your control.
Megan has a question. Megan, you said Dr. Thomas mentioned CSWE qualified volunteer work. No, I did not say CSWE. I said NASW. So I have linked it in the application portal itself. So when you start entering your work experience, you can, click on that link and you can see what kinds of social work, experience is generally, counted as social work interventions or experience. It's NASW, that's National Association of Social Workers, not CSWE. That is again to help you fill your work experience on the application. So when you start your application and you go to the work experience section, you will see that linked there. Yeah. Megan?
Thank you. Okay, well, why don't we do this then? Any new questions? Dr. Bowie and Dr. Thomas, how about some final words of advice and encouragement? And then we'll hang out for, so we have a question, a hand popped up. Is it AJ?
Yes, Ajay.
Ajay, thank you.
So I understand that there's the NASW website, which can further tell us what experience count as the social work related experience. But just since I'm here, I guess I'll just ask for my specific situation. For last year and this year, I've been doing a AmeriCorps program called City Year. Not sure if y'all have heard of it, but basically we work in public schools. I'm in Sacramento right now, and we provide social, emotional learning and academic support to students who are typically like 1 to 3 grade levels behind. And since it's labeled as a service year, and I would have 2 years, so that would be 3,400 hours total. Would that count under that criteria for the social work related experience?
Ajay, I would say put that there. And, we have a section of description. Use the description to say how that work, is on behalf of the vulnerable, marginalized, population, high needs population, right? So use that description to actually say how that relates to social work. It's just not the hours, it's what you do there also. And if you recall, Dr. Lee mentioned, right? Sometimes we get applicants with a lot of hours of experience, right? But how does all of that connect together when you put that application in, you give it to us? So there are all these factors that count. It's just not the hours. Describe your experience, especially if you have some leadership related work, put all of it there and we look at all of that, not just your hours.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajay.
Dr. Bowie, was there a question about interviews? I just saw that pop up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I answered it. It just asked if it was a part of the online hybrid program, if you interview for that, and I said no.
Just to elaborate on that, since this question was asked, we do have an interview for the advanced standing applicants, and that is after the advanced standing application has been reviewed and you move to the next step, we have an interview there. And I think there was a question, how do we prepare for the advanced standing interview? Honestly, there's no preparation as such. It is what we look for is in the advanced standing program, we expect the student to have a little more nuanced understanding of the profession because you're skipping the entire first year of your master's program. So what we look for is, are you ready to skip that first year, especially of, theories, the theoretical concepts and practice, right? Do you have enough work experience and also critical thinking to actually say, this person can just skip the first year and they're ready for just 1 year of social work practice and social work classes. So there's no preparation as such. What I would just say is relax, come and just respond to the questions, and we both will, and we'll all learn and grow together in that panel. Yeah.
Looks like there's a question about class format, Dr. Bowie, for online. Is that right?
Yes. Another question for online hybrid program classes. They are all synchronous, correct? What days and or evenings are they, for example, for this upcoming cycle that we're just started?
So for the online hybrid program, the reason why we call it online hybrid is because all of the traditional classes are online, but the hybrid portion is that your internship is in person in an agency or organization that's geographically local or as local as possible to you. So there is a combination of synchronous and asynchronous work. So synchronous is your classes are about an hour and a half each. And the days of the week are usually from either 6 or 6:30 until about 9:30. And you usually have 2 classes per evening. And we try to make it so that you're in classes only 2, sometimes 3 weekday evenings out of the week, which are usually Mondays through Thursdays. We have not historically scheduled evening classes on a Friday, and we have not scheduled any weekend classes. So they would appear Monday through Thursday for the synchronous time. The asynchronous time means that because the synchronous class times are fairly truncated, there's a lot of independent learning, a lot of homework that you have to do in preparation for those synchronous sessions. So I hope that answers that question. There is a separate online hybrid presentation that Dr. Timothy Nguyen has recorded for you, as well as the general information that we have in our informational session. A lot of folks do appreciate the online hybrid program because of its convenience or relative convenience. And it is more expensive. It's almost twice as much as our general session on-campus program. But for economic savings, you don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about the commute for classes. Some of these things, and it's in the evening, so most people can keep some type of daytime employment. So again, general tip about pros and cons of any of the program choices that we have, as well as what other type of MSW programs or graduate programs you're considering besides ours. Field placements, Dr. Lee?
Yeah, there is a question about field placements. Is there a lot to choose from for a placement in mental health. There is a lot to choose from in mental health. We also have hospital placements, school placements, community programs, agencies. We have veterinarian. I mean, we have a really robust option of placements. But yes, to answer your question, there are in mental health, with mental health.
This is an interesting question. Emma Padilla says, what qualities or criteria would make an applicant ready for the profession?
Okay. Well, I'm going to answer this, and then we also want to be mindful of time. So we will end the recording soon, but we will stay around for a few more minutes if people have additional questions. The reason why I chuckled at that question is because I'm going to give a different answer this year than I would have given last year because of the introduction that we just had about what are the 5 top skills that faculty think that students should have, 5 values or skills. So what you put into your application it could be, right? Because we're not going to prescribe what it is that you put in your personal statement or your application, is from what we have learned recently, and it's been reinforced after looking back a little bit, is that students who succeed, definitely they have the preparation for an academic program, and they also have the preparation and the desire to learn, along with their passion to serve, right? Because that's what social work is, a service profession. But I think the successful students, not necessarily successful applicants, the successful students will have those particular skills and values that we had mentioned at the top of the presentation, which is you're going to be facing some very difficult times, not only as a student, but as you go through the profession. How do you handle trauma? How do you handle conflict? How do you manage your time? When you know that there is no answer, right? There's going to be some problems that you face that have no solution. What do you do next, right? And also, how do you self-regulate? What is your emotional intelligence? How are you prepared to handle, these particular situations, not only for yourself, but also in the context of your family, your friends, your coworkers? And so success in the application right now, I think, is different from success in the profession. And we're trying very hard to try to match those two because we want our application process to help applicants understand what is actually needed to succeed in the profession. But being transparent, we haven't matched that as well as we want to because we are learning too. So we have had students, we already told the story. We already admitted our class and they're in their 3rd, 4th week of classes already. And we've noticed a percentage of students that are struggling. And it's not because they didn't put together a good application. Obviously they did because they got in. But, however they worded their to convince us that they're ready, maybe they thought they were ready, or they didn't, expect that they would face certain types of difficulties or circumstances change. So I'm going to answer that question by saying, you do have to follow the instructions. You do have to make sure that you fill out all the applications and do all the things that you do to put together a good application. But probably the most challenging, difficult situation is if you put in a good application, but you're not sure if you're ready for the profession, because that would be a very challenging situation. So make sure that you're honest with yourself, not only putting in what you need to do to put together a good application, but really do some self-reflection, do some research, do some understanding about, are you really ready for the work and for the experiences that are in store for you? Dr. Bowie and Dr. Thomas, how about final words? Because I want to honor people's time, and then let's close the recording, and then let's see if anybody needs to stay afterwards. Okay. So somebody want to go first? Yeah. Go last? Yeah.
Sure. I just want to say, wish you nothing but the best of luck as you go through this process. And I really like what Dr. Lee said. Going after that, I think, is hard because that was, perfectly stated, Dr. Lee. This is, it's a decision that we make that, yes, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice that goes with it. I always say that I always tell students, and this happened even with me, it's like when you start school, life doesn't stop, right? Things still keep going, families' needs still keep happening. We have other commitments and other things. So just, just find your support system, find your people professionally and even in your personal life who are your support people that are going to help you go through this process from day one, which is applying to our program and then getting you through the program. Give yourself grace and just make sure you have you find your people to help you through this. And yeah, best of luck to all of you. And you all got this. You're here for a reason. So we wish you nothing but the best. And, we're here for you to support you through this process. And thank you for your time and for being here. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Bowie. My last words of wisdom are just all of them are going to be practical based on what I have seen through the years, the common mistakes or the common, what applicants miss during the process. So it's just going to be very practical advice related to the application, right? Because Dr. Lee and Dr. Bowie have said all the words of wisdom. Mine is just practical advice. So the first thing is, remember, there are two applications. The Cal State Apply opens on October 1st. The MSW application is open. The preview is open, and you can start filling your applications there. Yeah. And keep track of the deadlines. Go to the admissions page, both on GAPE, that's the graduate admission, and the MSW, keep track of the deadlines, right? Again, there are two applications that have different requirements. Review it carefully. Second, what I've seen often is applicants submit their transcripts to the School of Social Work and expect that we review the applications. Do not submit your transcripts to the School of Social Work. We have specific instruction on submitting the transcripts. Review that before you submit your transcript. My third advice is start early. There are many, many requirements in that application in which time is of the essence, right? For example, when you start your Cal State application, you will get a 9-digit ID. You need that ID for you to submit your MSW application. That's important. So start it early, and that process takes about 10 days. So if the deadline is December 1st and you start your application on November 21st, the chances are that you will struggle through the last, just even starting the MSW application. So time is of the essence. Start early, get your 9-digit ID, make a note of that 9-digit ID. I can't tell you the number of times the student enters the wrong ID and all that can delay the processing of your application and can lead to multiple errors. Yeah. Pay attention to these finer details. The next advice is follow up with your recommenders, right? It is a form, it goes in the form of an email. Recommenders are busy, they are professionals, they are professors, they are your managers, they are your supervisors. They are not going to track that. They have so many people reaching out to them. Follow up with your recommenders. There's a deadline for the submission of recommendation. And a complete application also involves a recommendation. So track your recommenders and request them to submit the recommendations on time. And the final one, remember, after you've submitted and we've reviewed all of this, it's your personal statement that tells us who you are and what you bring to the program. Take time to write your personal statement. We review many applications, and we can clearly tell the difference of a well-written, thoughtful statement and a hastily put together statement. So take time to write your statement. Yeah, it makes a difference in the application. And finally, this is really important. If you have an international undergraduate degree, please reach out to GAPE because there are some additional requirements. We are not the experts on that. If you have an undergraduate international degree, there are specific requirements. I have again linked that on the MSW admissions page. Please review all these requirements. So what I'm trying to say here is the devil is in the details here, and there are a lot of details. Keep track of all the little things so that you really submit, an application that does not cause stress to you. And if you've submitted an application which has caused you a lot of stress, the chances are that you haven't prepared enough. So start today, start now, and, keep notes, make notes, track the process, and, make this an enjoyable process for you. And we can see that in your application when you put together an application with thought and commitment. And like Dr. Bowie said, I wish you nothing but the best, and I look forward to seeing your applications.
Thank you both. Thank you all. We appreciate you spending your evening with us. And again, this has been recorded. The recording will be posted as soon as we can on our website. And we do have two other synchronous Q&A sessions after this one. So look for that if you want to come visit with us again. So on behalf of San Jose State, our College of Health and Human Sciences, and of course our School of Social Work, we thank you for your time today and hope that you have found all this information worthwhile. Thank you, everyone. Best wishes.
Thank you,
Thanks
Dr.
so
Lee.
much.
End the recording, Dr. Thomas.